Chief Todd, thank you again for participating in our monthly check-in. I have Mike Starling with WHCP joining us, and it's such a terrific public service for you to share some of your thoughts as we go into August. I know that August and the summer sometimes can be a real challenge for police departments, and I just thought that it would be helpful if you could highlight what's taken place over the last month and give us a sense of where you think the community is in terms of public safety.
Yeah, be glad to. And thanks for having me. This is part of community-oriented policing, I feel, and being able to be able to speak and get out to the public what's going on, both inside and outside the police department is a great thing. Certainly inside the police department, we've had 5 recruits start the police academy. So they're already a month in. So we're hopeful that in December, we'll be able to get most of those out of the police academy and on the road with us, which will continue in our efforts to increase our staffing, which has been very low for the past year and a half. And I think this time last year, we were at 31 officers. Right now, with what we have in the police academy, plus 1 civilian liaison that we've added, we're at 38 strong. So we're definitely making progress in that area. So we're very blessed for that because, as everyone knows, the more officers we have, the more we can put out on the streets to make sure safety is at its best.
What is your sweet spot? What is the number that in a perfect world you would like to be up to?
Back in 2018, we were at 46 officers. So certainly if we could get somewhere even close to that range right now, it certainly helps us as far as bike patrols, community policing efforts, extra assignments, things of that nature that we would love to do and implement. We just started back with our courts, with drug court and veterans court. That is because of our increase in manpower, we're able to do those things. And that helps the community, and it helps the police department connect with the community.
What else can you share with us?
Yeah, there's a lot. It's a lot of end of summer programs are going on now. We've helped with the Boys and Girls Club and New Beginnings. I'm getting to meet a lot of the kids. So that's been a real joy for us. You follow us on Facebook. We National Night Out. Activities such as that always are a big event and bring a lot of good positive vibes to the city.
What is the purpose of Night Out?
It's a nationwide event, and it started for a night of no violence, no crime in cities and communities. And it's held nationally. Many agencies I know in Maryland hold the event. And it's a good event. You know, it's a free event that we held and have for many years out at the county pool. And we have an enormous amount of people that come out and support us. We also, this year, we've had a lot of vendors reaching out, giving out contact information, assistant programs, churches. And that's a great thing to see because you're getting that community aspect out there. It's not just the police department, but it's a lot of other nonprofit organizations joining in and helping out with that.
Chief Todd, if I could jump in here. So the curfew was a novel implementation done here in the city of Cambridge. I wonder if you've got a response on how well you think that's working with the youth, particularly in summer when sometimes they need some things to do. We've heard about some incidents downtown that indicated, there was some ongoing challenges here. How do you size that up?
Yeah, the curfew. I did a proposal to the council back in the end of June, first part of July. The curfew ended on June 30th, the temporary curfew. I proposed that we continue the curfew. No crime. The crime portion of it from a year ago really hasn't shown a significant difference in crime because of the curfew. But what it has shown is there's not as many children out on the streets. And the ones that are out on the streets are the ones that we can identify as committing some of the crimes that are going on. The car thefts, which we've had as many cities throughout the nation have, has continued to increase. And most of that is juvenile related incidents. So we're waiting right now for council to approve another year. I proposed another year of the curfew to be able to gather more data. Let us see where we are in a year. You know, we're implementing a lot of things community oriented to try and reduce crime. Violent crime is starting to reduce itself. This time last year we had 4 homicides. This year we've had 1. You know, our aggressive crime, our first degree assaults, they're down a little. So we need to continue that pace, and things such as curfews, where we can identify juveniles and not get them into the court system, but it is designed, and I believe curfews it's a misconception today. Police can enforce a curfew if it's wrote properly, it can be done correctly. And I believe if you are going after the curfew in the respect of to help the child, to get the child the services, or the parents or the guardians of that child the services they need, and find out what's going on and why are they out at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, that's when the curfew becomes effective. And that's my goal in the city, is to find out why these children, and there's less than 50 children that are constantly out on our streets. We need to get to the root of that problem. We cannot arrest our way out of juvenile crime. You know, the new juvenile laws that have come into effect and that we have, it's a challenge for police. It's a challenge for every agency, juvenile services, social services, the school system, I imagine, is affected by it. But we have to find ways, proactive ways around it. And, you know, we have to try new things. And I think once we do that and we see where we are in a year, and we'll evaluate it from there and see where we go and what the council wants to do.
At the last council meeting, there was a good bit of discussion about this. The mayor, working with the town manager, had proposed an alternative ordinance that, as I understand it, would have removed a good bit of the punitive options that were part of the original curfew. Have you weighed in on that? And do you have a preference on how the new ordinance should be stated?
Yeah, I certainly I read the amended ordinance that the Mayor Rideout had proposed, and I agree with the amended ordinance. There was never my purpose to fine the parents. That's not the intention, because I know at the end of the day that does not really solve the problem. However, there has to be accountability at some point. But my main goal is to get the child the type of services through, whether it be the local care team or through juvenile services if a child is in need of supervision. Yeah. And I think what Mayor Rideout did with that proposal is on board with what the curfew should stand for today. Certainly either way is a win for the police department, whatever type of curfew that's at, whether it's punitive damages that are put in place, or the child in need supervision sends cases that's proposed into the curfew that Mayor Rideout did. It's a tool in our tool bag where the officer can, if they see a child out, they can address the situation and take it from there.
What about in the instance of kids committing minor nuisances, say going into restaurants and, you know, having fights with each other and disrupting the patrons, or taking flags off of buildings and just being disruptive in the downtown area? I know it's a challenge with the number of police that you have, that you can't have the show of force that you used to have in the old days, where there was a cop literally on the beat, you know, that showed that we're here and we're paying attention. Is that compounded by the new laws? That it sounds like you really can't do much other than ask the kids to go home and leave.
So the new juvenile laws, if they're under the age of 13, we can respond to the scene. We can address the situation at hand. And then we have to either call the parents or do a form through juvenile services. But we can't just arrest a 12-year-old kid, whether they're fighting. It has to be some type of crime of violence. Mm-hmm. And crime of violence means a serious act, using a weapon or such. So that's definitely a challenge for the police department, and the children, the juveniles know this. They will tell the police department this. They'll tell the police officers, that, well, what are you going to do? And that's why we're having so many of the uptick in stolen vehicles. They're younger children stealing these cars, and they know that they're not going to be held. They're going to be released back to their parents, and the next day or 2 days, they can be out stealing the vehicles again. And it's certainly, and not only is it rough on the police department, but we got, as the chief of police, I look at the community I'm serving. There are people being victimized, and we need to make sure that somebody's held accountable and doing their part, either help the child, help the family, or hold them accountable for their actions. And we as the public and the police department, the community, nonprofits need to stand together and make sure that we're doing everything we can to alleviate this issue and problem with the juveniles.
The last time we talked, I was really impressed by how your department is using technology to solve some of these challenges. Can you give me an update? I know that sound detection thing was very impressive, and I'm sure you're collecting more and more data on when that's used. Could you explain that to people again?
Yeah, ShotSpotter. We've been using it. Probably we're getting ready to be on 9 months in now, and it's really showed us a lot of good data-driven information. ShotSpotter alert goes off. It goes right to the police officers' phones or their in-car computers, and alerts them within an 82-foot range of exactly where that shot went off. And that allows us to, once we arrive on scene, how to arrive on scene. What are we? Is the alert showing that somebody's running away? Are they in a vehicle? And it allows the officer to be able to determine how to go to the scene and where to begin their investigation. And many times we're able to recover evidence such as shell casings. We don't find a victim, which we don't many times. We get shots being fired. We don't find the victim. We don't find the suspect. We don't find witnesses. However, what we do find sometimes and quite often are shell casings, and they become like a fingerprint to a handgun. Mm-hmm. So we collect those casings, we send them off to the ATF, and they look at the casings and say 2 months down the road, we recover a gun that was used in a major crime. We can tie those casings back to that. I think late last year, we recovered a handgun that went back to 12 different shootings in the city of Cambridge. Not 12 different victims, but 12 different shootings in the city of Cambridge. And that just shows you how much the handgun is being used and how taking one gun off the street can be effective.
Dave brings up a good point about technology. Has there been an extension of the camera system in the city area to help identify when you need to look in on an incident that occurred?
Yes, we have. Our IT division here in the city of Cambridge has worked really hard. We have over 60 some more cameras up and in place throughout parks in the city, on different streets, roadways, our high crime areas. And I can tell you, between the ShotSpotter and our camera systems, most of our major crimes in one way or form have been solved, and suspects identified or witnesses even identified through the cameras using the ShotSpotter technology together, which is major in today's policing efforts, because going to court, getting search warrants, being able to prosecute for state's attorney's office, the prosecutors, they look for that video evidence. They look for that, hard evidence that is technology driven today, that gives the level of proof and helps officers in solving the cases and giving probable cause to make those arrests.
Are there any other tools that you all would like to have that either because of funding or other reasons you're not able to obtain at this point?
The city council and the city manager have been really good about, you know, things that are needed for the police department, updated equipment. We've really gone after a lot of grant funding in the last year. Since last August, we have been working hard with our grant writer to get every grant we possibly can that will help us. I'm really excited about we're getting license plate readers, which will help us with crime and other issues going on that we're able to tie into the state system that will be able to give us information on such things as stolen vehicles or crimes where the vehicle fled the area. So things like that is definitely a help. Certainly in the future, I would love to explore the things such as the drone program as our staffing comes up and things such as that nature. So the support I have from the city, I couldn't ask for any more. The grant funding's a help. And we're going to continue with the cameras and getting our officers. One of my main purposes is to make sure our officers are the most highly trained officers of any around, because that's the key. You know, with the new changes in law, the police reform, which there should be police reform, and we have to make sure as an agency, as a city, that we have the most trained officers that are able to go out there and are equipped to handle every situation that comes at them and problem solve.
You've been real good about community policing initiatives and supporting them. In terms of what's going on in the school system, could you describe the efforts there, and if there are things in particular that you'd like to see move ahead with the county school system? Do you actually need to have some police at some locations, or how do you size up the current interaction with the school system itself and the teachers and students?
Yeah, I developed a good relationship with our superintendent. Last year, we were able to get a school resource officer into the Maces Lane Middle School. That's been something that has been needed for years. And it serves many purposes. One, the safety of the school, the children inside of it. Two, the interaction with the officers and the students, and the officer presence there as well. There has to be police in schools in today's time, and especially the time we're living in, to teach. I just sent 2 officers out to Arizona for training. Everybody's heard of the DARE program in the school system. We're going to attempt this year to teach a gang program where it talks about being able to stay away from gang activity and keeping away from certain, and being able to pick up on certain clues. And just where to go with that. And I think we have to address issues that are relative to our community. And of course, DARE and drugs are, but also part of our homicides that we've had over the last years have been gang related. And the children in that middle school, even late elementary school, needs to know and be educated on what will help make them safe and where they can go if they don't feel safe and feel comfortable about doing that. And I look forward to that program kicking off in the schools this year and working with the teachers and the staff at the Board of Education to help make an even better school year.
Thank you so much for this. We're almost out of time. Is there anything else that you want the community to know?
First, I want to thank the community. You know, you hear so much support throughout the community. And I also want the community to know when there is concerns, they have any issues, that we're available. You can go on our website. My email is on there. We're about addressing problems and problem solving. That's a part of community-oriented policing. And it's not to a police officer's job today in the time, it's not just to arrest people and serve papers, but it's about being a part of the community and supporting the community we serve. And that's the real message I want to continue to get out there. And there is another side of being proactive as a police department as well, and continuing to take down the criminal element that exists. And I don't want that to confuse to say we're not doing that, because we certainly are. And I think the crime statistics are starting to show that.
Well, thank you, Chief Todd, and thank you once again for your service. And
Thank you so much. Glad to be here and be a part and answer the questions.